no stopping me. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. Got bands on bands on bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands on bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. Got bands on bands on bands.
Boom, we're here. What's going on, folks? What's going on, folks? All right. We're going to jump right into it. Wanted to make sure we're all here. As you're coming into the room, be sure to, as always, hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button to support us in the algorithm. Just trying to get my camera together. Make sure I'm on screen here. Let me push over a little bit. Make sure that we're good. All right. So check it out, guys. Recently, Zoe Saldana won an Oscar for her supporting role in Emilia Perez. That movie is out on Netflix as we speak. But a lot of people have been reacting to her acceptance speech, where she was very loud and proud, standing on her Dominican or her immigrant background. Hold on, guys. Cool. All right. Just wanted to double check something. But yeah, so she was very proud of her immigrant background. And I think this is in the context of the delineation movement being in full effect. In the context of the immigrant community, the Hispanic community fighting these deportations, in the context of everything that is going on culturally in America right now, this is very interesting. So I want to play her a clip from her acceptance speech, and we're going to have a conversation tonight, because this is not a new phenomenon what we're witnessing. But let's first see the speech which we're referring to. Check this out.
My grandmother came to this country in 1961. I am a proud child of immigrant parents with dreams and dignity and hardworking hands, and I am the first American of Dominican origin to accept an Academy Award, and I know I will not be the last. I hope the fact that I'm getting an award for a role where I got to sing and speak in Spanish. My grandmother, if she were here, she would be so delighted. This is for my grandmother, Argentina CC. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
All right. So she is the descendant of immigrants. She's a proud descendant of immigrants. And you know what? I don't see anything wrong with that. Can we give her a round of applause? I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that this whole delineation movement is a good thing. But the foundational Black Americans, it's only wrong when we do it. See, that's the thing that I wanted to point out here. This is a learning opportunity. Because it's only wrong, it seems, when foundational Black Americans decide to delineate. You see, she's claiming her immigrant background, and we don't have a problem with that as far as foundational Black Americans. Hold on. Yeah, we don't have a problem with that as foundational Black Americans.
I love her.
The problem is when people double dutch. See, if you are a proud immigrant of Dominican descent, then stand on that Dominican side. Why? We shouldn't see one minute we see in clips like this.
My people and who I am, and out of love for my people and who I am, and my pride of being a Black woman, out of love for my people and who I am, and my pride of being a Black woman.
Okay, so she's a Black woman, she's a Dominican descent, That's fine. But she can't double dutch and say, oh, she's a black American woman just like us. See, up until now, up until recently, up until this foundational black American movement has started taking root, she could be considered black American. She gets black American roles. She's considered Hispanic, Dominican. She gets Dominican roles when it's convenient for her. And what that does is it benefits other groups because they can double dutch. They can say, oh yeah, I'm a black American when it's convenient. And oh yeah, I'm not a black American. I'm not like them. I'm not ghetto like them. I'm a Dominican. I'm different. Right? Now, foundational black Americans are saying, cool, that's awesome. You guys want to delineate every time you win something, every time you win an Oscar, every time you win an award, you're ready to delineate. Hey, I'm not black anymore. I'm not black now. I'm a new immigrant. I'm a descendant of immigrants. I get to speak Spanish, right? And we're saying, awesome, fine, no problem there. As long as we can do the same thing. All right, as long as we can do the same thing. That's why this who created hip hop question is so big right now. Who created hip hop? Foundational black Americans are saying, hey, we created it. We had people rapping since the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. We had people rapping for almost a century now. If you go back and check out Pigmeat Markham, we've had people rapping, but then they say, oh no, the Dominicans, the Hispanics in New York, they help. No, Poppy. See, the delineation movement has got to work on both sides. You guys, when you win something, when you create something, you want your credit, awesome. But we got to get ours as well. And this isn't a new topic. Even Suge Knight, you remember Suge Knight from Death Row? Suge Knight recently called in from prison. He did an interview where he's in prison right now, and he's on the jail phone giving this interview saying what he thinks of a lot of foreign actors getting roles to play Black American roles. And this is interesting in the context of Donald Trump, Make America Great Again, putting Americans first. A lot of these things are intertwined, are commingled. Right now, it's a perfect storm. There's a cultural realignment happening. And I'm just trying to call out some things, bring some things to your attention and wake up the masses to say, hey, look at this. In case you've been living under a rock, in case you haven't heard, there's a delineation movement going on right now. And nobody has any problem when others do it. So when we start to notice, when we say, hey, if we're going to start delineating, we want our jobs here in America. We want our roles here in America. We want our people to play in these roles for Black Americans. See, now that delineation's not tasting too sweet. But check out what Suge Knight had to say. I found what his words interesting. Check this out.
Now when you look at it,
and by the way, shout out to the Art of Dialogue for putting this little clip together. Shout out to the Art of Dialogue. He dropped some good stuff. Y'all check him out.
Use Black American actors and actresses to play these roles as much, including Oprah. They'd rather go get a guy who's British, out the UK, mainly British, right? Yeah. These guys might have black skin, but they don't walk like us in the United States. They don't talk like us in the United States. They can't relate to us in the United States. So what they do, they got to get a person from the United States, a black person from the United States, to teach that person how to act, how to walk, how to be black. Don't nobody got to teach us how to be black. We born black. Big difference. So even if you take John Singleton, rest in peace. Family to me, always have been, even though he's not here. Yeah. John Singleton did things to make people relate to what we was going through. And at the same time, Snowfall, you could get a guy, I think he from British something up. boy. So now you got to get a person from the inner cities to be on the set, right? Anytime they get ready to film, you got to have a person from the inner cities to teach him how to be black, teach him how to act like a black man. That man is teaching him how to act like a black man. Why not let that man have the part instead of the guy from British? Matter of fact, he started hanging with
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Michael B. Jordan or whatever. He telling him how to be black so much like he's from the United States. Next thing you know, he starts Steve Harvey's daughter, or whatever her name is, you know. So we giving all our swag away and not saying it's a difference between us and them. But what about home?
What about home?
If we supposed to turn around and make sure more black actors and actresses is getting these roles and getting these parts, because if they making money, that means there's going to be less homeless people in the United States. Because I'm quite sure if it was a man or a woman, when they make some money, not only is they taking care of themselves, they're doing something for their family, they're doing something for their friends, they're doing something for these foundations. And like I said, every person you look at, even you got a guy that British playing Martin Luther King. You got a guy that overhave British playing every black part of what it is. Every black part, every black role is somebody else. That makes no sense to me.
All right, so that is the infamous Suge Knight, and he was making a point. Suge Knight had a point there. He's like, hey, we need to keep these roles for black Americans. We've got folks like, we've got a British dude playing Martin Luther King. We've got Cynthia Erivo playing Harriet Tubman. Don't get me started on Cynthia Erivo playing Harriet Tubman. Y'all remember Cynthia Erivo playing Harriet? There was major backlash. There was major backlash around Cynthia Erivo playing our foundational black American writer, Harriet Tubman, because she is a British woman of British Nigerian descent. And this woman has voiced outright vitriol for black Americans. She's playing a foundational black American writer in Harriet Tubman, but she has vitriol for us. She has hatred for us. She does not like black Americans. Her and her friend Lovey. This is something that people were bringing out back in 2019 when the movie first came out. Y'all remember this? Cynthia Erivo, let me show. Y'all remember Cynthia Erivo's tweets here? When Cynthia Erivo was talking to the producer, talking about, oh yeah, I'm going to play a ghetto American accent. You know, I got you, but I'm still going to make it do what I got to do what I got to do. You feel me? She's a ghetto black American accent. You know this vitriol that these tethers have for us. Cynthia Erivo retweeted this, trying to call us black Americans jealous, saying that this is so wrong. You know, we talk about racism at a white man, not realizing how damaged they are themselves. So you're defending the white man, saying that we black Americans are damaged. It's not that some African Americans are jealous of Africans in the U.S., saying that we're jealous of Africans. Okay. And then her best friend Lovey, who she's retweeted and posts, they've got a whole string of her tweets where they're out here calling us Akadas. And if you don't know, Akada is like the Nigerian word for nigger. They're calling us Akadas in all of these tweets, saying, oh, I'm nothing like a black Americans. I'm nothing like them. I'm Niger. I got Niger blood. I'm not like them. So yeah, they have open vitriol for us, and yet you can see them playing our roles. Even shout out to Godfrey. Godfrey is a writer. Shout out to Godfrey. He's out there in Chicago. He's got a beef. Godfrey has a beef going on with Lord Jamar, and I'm rocking with Godfrey on that one, because Lord Jamar is tripping on that flat earth stuff. But anyway, Godfrey, he's a fellow Nigerian American, and he personally called out Cynthia Erivo. Check out what Godfrey had to say, because this has been going on for a while now. And the Saldana, what's her name? The Saldana woman, Zoe Saldana. This was just the newest iteration, but this has been going on. Check out what Godfrey had to say.
What's her name? Erivo. That Cynthia Erivo who's playing Wicked, the witch in Erivo, she said some really disparaging shit about African Americans. And then she ends up playing...
Is she British?
She's British Nigerian.
Okay.
If I'm right, I better be right, because I want to make sure if I'm not, you guys can go in the comments and go, he don't even got it right. That motherfucker don't say nothing right. You know how they... She said some disparaging shit about African Americans.
What'd she say?
I want to make sure I quote it right, but if you can get your producer to find it, that would be cool.
Mario,
because I don't want to say anything out of pocket. And she said some shit about, which is funny how almost every foreigner has something to say badly about African Americans. Even Africans sometimes have fucked up shit to say about African Americans, but then everybody comes to America trying to be African American.
And benefit off of our struggle and the work that we put in.
Yeah. And what's really fucked up is she ended up playing Harriet Tubman. I go, wait a minute, you just talked about and shit on African Americans, and you're going to talk about the woman that did so much for African American freedom? You get to play her? You're fucking playing Harriet fucking Tubman? Are you out of your fucking mind? Harriet Tubman would have smacked the shit out of you if you said what you said. How could you say that? How could anybody that looks like you come into America and talk about African Americans when they are the ones that have created the foundation for foreigners to come in? The 1964 Civil Rights Bill is the reason why Koreans, Nigerians, Indians, Arabs can come in and open up businesses in black neighborhoods and still disrespect the fucking same people that are putting money in their pockets. What kind of fucking nerve is that? It's the serious hatred of African Americans in this country. It's in the soil. It's in the fucking soil, like my boy Dante says. That's my co-host. He says it's in the soil. That it's almost patriotic to hate black people. It's patriotic. It's part of the.
Damn.
It's part of that.
Oh damn.
Yeah, it's part of the American thing to hate black people.
Man, shout out to Godfrey, yo. Shout out to Godfrey. Godfrey dropping some fire on that one. Godfrey, he's a writer, and that's one thing about it with the FBA movement, the delineation movement. And one thing I want to be clear on, especially on this channel, because I know that Tariq Nasheed, he's the loudest voice for the FBA movement, but he's not. Everyone doesn't agree with everything he says. He goes a little bit hard on the quote unquote tethers, and as he should. But the thing that he doesn't do a good job of is distinguishing the tethers from the immigrants. Godfrey is an immigrant. He's a first generation immigrant. He's from Nigerian descent. His dad moved to America from Nigeria. But Godfrey's not a tether. Godfrey's a writer. He says some real stuff. Like, he understands the plight of the black Americans. He understands that we're fighting, we're struggling, and not to get in our way. We are working to get reparations. We are working to get autonomy and economic security for our lineage. And Godfrey, as a first generation Nigerian immigrant, he is not a tether despite being a first generation immigrant. He's a writer. And that's one thing that we as foundational black Americans have to do a better job at is distinguishing the tethers from the immigrants. I'm from DC. I grew up in DC. I'm from Atlanta. I grew up in DC. I have tons of first generation and fresh off the boat immigrant friends. I'm talking about the vast majority of my friends in the DC area are either from Cameroon, Ethiopia, Dominican, Puerto Rico. Like, I've got a lot of immigrant friends, and they're writers. They see me. I'm on here on YouTube talking this stuff, and when I'm with them, I'm saying the same stuff in person. I stand on this delineation, foundational black American movement all day, whether I'm online or in person. And the majority of my friends, despite being first generation immigrants or fresh off the boat immigrants, we get along because all immigrants aren't tethered. Tethers are the ones that come over here and try to undermine foundational Black Americans while reaping the benefits of the work and the labor that we as a group have put in. That's the difference. And to be clear, the majority of immigrants, first generation immigrants and fresh off the boat immigrants, the majority of them are writers. The majority of them understand and would say, hey, yeah, foundational Black Americans, they do deserve reparations. They might say they don't think they're ever going to get it because they're not used to fighting for things. They just go to a new country and try to start over. They're not used to fighting the political fights. So they might not want to invest in our struggle here, but they'll at least be honest and say, yeah, they deserve it. The majority of them recognize that. The majority of them get it. And I don't want us as foundational Black Americans to think that all of the immigrants are tethers, because they're not. All right, there's a difference. Tethers are specifically immigrants who come here with the intention or in action, whether they intend to or not, undermine foundational Black Americans. It's not just the fact that you came to our country. Hey, you're welcome. You come here legally. You're welcome to stay. I have no problem with you. As long as you're not getting in our way, undermining the movements that we are fighting to get running, to get momentum. All right, now that's what Godfrey had to say about Cynthia Erivo, and I'm sure you guys remember, just to jog your memory, the major backlash she received when trying to play our good sister Harriet Tubman. If not, y'all check this out. Let's go to 2.
Harriet Tubman.
The title role of Harriet Tubman, a challenge for any actress, and Erivo rose to the occasion, paying tribute to the Black abolitionists who freed hundreds of slaves and remains one of the most important figures in Black American history.
God was watching, but my feet was my own, running, bleeding, climbing, nearly drowned, nothing to eat for days and days, man. I made it.
But when the film's producers first announced that it was Erivo getting the job, it didn't go over well with many Black Americans because Erivo is British.
So there's people who took issue with you being from...
Mind you, as we're watching this, just keep in mind the fact that this is being aired on ABC. So the fact that she was getting called out made it to the TV, like this is getting national attention. ABC is doing a whole press release saying, oh yeah, this is likely why she did not win an Oscar. Because anyone who does a Harriet Tubman movie, if they would have put a foundational Black American in there, that's Oscar. I mean, how do you not give Harriet Tubman, the story itself, how do you not give Harriet Tubman an Oscar? Well, it's because there was so much backlash against Cynthia Erivo. But check out a little bit more of this.
From being from England.
From England and African.
While promoting the film on New York City radio, she took a moment to defend herself with WQHT host Ebro Darden.
Well, I think there's a misconception that when you're in the UK, you sort of get to bypass all the awful things that happen to you as a Black person, but you don't.
On Twitter, the hashtags Boycott Harriet and Harriet Deserves Better found life.
You know, obviously there's been a lot of conversation about the fact that she's British, but it's so unfair.
The film's Black producer addressed the controversy multiple times this award season, including at the Middleburg Film Festival in Virginia last October.
Again, they're trying to pawn it off as if, oh, they just don't like her because it's British. No, it's that she has a history of talking greasy. She has a history of undermining. She has a history of showing vitriol towards foundational Black Americans, and yet she's getting one of the roles for one of our most iconic foundational Black Americans in U.S. history. That's where people are having this problem. The problem, yeah, she's British. Listen, there's a lot of people who are British that get American roles who don't get half the backlash. And we're going to get into Eldris Eba. Oh, yeah, we're going to get into Eldris Eba and what he has to say, because he was playing in The Wire. A lot of people didn't know that he was British as well. I'm going to play a little bit more of this, but I just wanted to correct that because they keep trying to say, oh, it's xenophobia. No, what it is you guys coming over here undermining. See, if you come over here, you show love, you try to give back, you try to uplift foundational Black Americans, we show the energy back. But if we fight for you to come over here, you come over here talking about, I'm not like those Akatas. I'm going to put on a ghetto American accent. Oh, we're ghetto now? You can't just say, oh, I want to make a black American accent. Oh, we got to put, oh, I'm going to be a ghetto black American. Okay. Let's play a little bit more of this, and then we're going to move on to Idris Elba. We're going to get started on Idris Elba.
October.
You live or die on the shoulders of the actor in the lead role. So she was it, period.
Online, a new group of black intellectuals found their voice with this debate.
If Harriet was part of your lived experience as an ADOS, you could bring it to that role.
They are the American descendants of slavery, or ADOS for short. And they argue that black Americans, who are the children of African immigrants, have it entirely different than African descendants of slaves. In Atlanta, we met one of the group's founders, Yvette Carnell.
Well, there's an expectation that Yvette is xenophobic and Yvette hates black.
Let me pause it here right quick, because this is also an interesting point that I need to make. The difference between ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, and FBA, Foundational Black Americans, is that ADOS is an actual group. It's an organization. So on this channel, a lot of times you might see me dropping the hashtag FBA, Foundational Black American. I would consider myself a Foundational Black American because the term Foundational Black American is just a specific identifier for a lineage. It's not a group. I am not a member. I don't pay dues. I don't get paid by any group. ADOS is a group. American Descendants of Slaves is a actual group. It's an organization. They have organizational structure. They have taxes, or they are an organized group, an organization. FBA is just a lineage. It's a term. Everyone, whether you accept it or not, if you descended from slaves, you would be considered, in my book, a Foundational Black American. Whether you accept that term or not, that's the lineage that we're referring to when we say Foundational Black American. Whereas ADOS is a group. All right, just wanted to clarify that. All right.
Black immigrants, and that's just not the case.
She told us that she is ADOS, but says that I am not because my parents immigrated here from Nigeria.
I'm lighter than you. I'm far lighter than you. But like the cost that we bear is because of being brought here as slaves is very different.
We got very personal.
Just because you have melanin and kinky hair doesn't mean you have the same background and you are tied to that kind of systemic oppression in this country. So yes, you can come from Nigeria, you can come from Ghana. You're kind of the opposite of what we are, though. You're the elite where you come from. We're the bottom caste here. We just look alike.
It sounds like you're saying...
Now that was a bar. Hold on. That was a bar, and that's something that they don't want Black Americans to recognize or to acknowledge. You are the elite from where you come from. But when you come here, you're comparing yourself to the bottom rung of Americans. A lot of times the immigrants, the black folks, they'll come over and say, oh, why can't you do as good as immigrants? We're black just like you. Why don't you have as easy of a time? Why can we come here and do better than you? The reason is by the mere fact that you got here, especially if you are here legally, the fact that you are here is proof in and of itself that you are the elite from where you come from. As someone who has lived in other countries, I understand what it takes to get your passport, get your visa, get enough money to save to get to a new place and pay that down payment on an apartment, have to move and get new furniture, get new clothes for wherever you're moving to. There are a lot of costs. There are a lot of costs involved in moving to a new country. As someone who's done it, I know. So when these, and that I have to salute one more time Sister Yvette for pointing that out. You come over here, you say, oh, well, I'm melanated just like you. The difference is you are the elite from where you're coming from, and you're coming here. And then the sad part about it is they don't even compare themselves to our elite. So they'll come over here. Let's say there's 9 million immigrants, right? Black immigrants to America. Let's say there's 9 million of them. And let's say there's 40 million foundational Black Americans. What the 9 million immigrants will do is look at the lower 9 million of black Americans and say, oh, why are you people homeless and you're not working? Why are you people not doing anything? Instead of saying, well, no, I'm the top of my country. I'm included in this 9 million who just immigrated to America. Let me compare my 9 million to their best 9 million. If we want to do apples to apples, oranges to oranges, you got to compare, since you're comparing your elite, your 9 million is the elite from where you come from. So compare your elite to our elite. Compare your 9 million to our top 9 million, not our bottom 9 million. That's something that people got to start calling out too. When someone asks, oh, you guys could be doing as good as us if you just worked harder. Like, now, guy, you're running a different race, pimp.
That the American part of African American is more important to African descendants of slaves.
I think it's essential because we built the richest country in the world. But we've always been very, very giving and very accepting of black immigrants in this country. We always have. But it's a problem when you look at the number of these roles, especially lead roles, which are going to other groups and other people, even though we fought for the opportunity to be in those roles. And we didn't get to school in London. Like, we didn't go from Nigeria to London to different background. You look at Cynthia Erivo, it's not the same as my background. I'm a bottom caste in this country. That's different than what you came from. And so we don't have access to the things and opportunities that we fought for.
They think something is deeply wrong when a British actor of Nigerian descent is chosen to play the role of Martin Luther King in Selma, and a British actress plays his wife, Coretta Scott King. They see similar issues with the leading roles in Best Picture winner 12 Years a Slave and the thriller Get Out, which also won an Oscar. Even the dean of black actors, Samuel L. Jackson, is taking sides in the debate. During this interview with New York's Hot 97, he points out that Get Out's Daniel Kaluuya is a Brit of Ugandan descent, and he wonders if a different actor should have played the role of a black American in an interracial relationship.
I tend to wonder, what would that movie have been with an American brother who really understands that in a way? Because, I mean, Daniel grew up in a country where, you know, they've been interracial dating for 100 years.
And they're not just upset with the movies. They say that black immigrants and their children...
I want to pause it here right quick. I want to pause it here right quick and address this. When he says, I wonder what it would have looked like to have a black American play that role, as an actor himself, he understands the energy that the actors can bring. Someone who has those ties, those generational ties to the actors and actresses that they're portraying. For example, Martin Luther King. If that was a foundational black American playing Martin Luther King, he's thinking about it from his American lens. It's a totally different energy than someone who's removed, who's coming here who's playing a role from a nation he's not even from. He has no cultural ties to the person that he's playing. Same goes for Harriet Tubman with Cynthia Erivo. You're playing our icons, but you have no cultural connection. So we can see in the way that the output, we can see the outcome. It's just not as good. When as you compare that to someone like Malcolm X, played by Denzel Washington, that was or you compare Will Smith playing Ali. That's a totally different energy because they are of that cultural lineage. They have those cultural ties to these people. It's not someone that's so far removed.
Are taking seats in American colleges and businesses that are meant for the descendants of slaves. And they don't seem to acknowledge that many black people in Europe, the Caribbean, and elsewhere can also trace their ancestors back to slavery. They point to this 2015 study that shows that black immigrants are more likely than African Americans to earn a better living, have college degrees, and live in two-parent households. ADOSs don't believe that these families should benefit from affirmative action.
It was never meant for white women. It was never meant for immigrants or just people of color. It was meant for us. Everybody else just kind of shoehorned their way in.
Wouldn't you say, though, that that is a big generalization?
No.
No?
No.
It doesn't feel like a big generalization that someone like who is the children of Liberian parents might be just as black
Just as black, but what they went through was in Liberia.
I'm hard-pressed to believe that someone exactly my age, exactly my experience, who's lived in the same exact shoes that I've lived in over these past 49 years would have any different of an external experience as a black man in America.
Let me break it down for you. Let me break it down for you. That's the Obama argument, I like to call it. Obama said, when people see me as a black man, I have a problem getting a cab too. My life experience is the same.
Yeah.
Obama also went to a top tier school, like it was a private school in Hawaii when he was there. What I'm saying to you is this: being black, like not being able to get a cab, or the police seeing you and saying this is a black man, right? You can experience that, but the lineage and the cost of slavery is not in the eyes of a racist, right? So you can say it's the same, but it's not the same in terms of wealth level, is it? It's only the
By her definition, I tried to argue that our white...
And I like that when he even tried to come up with an argument, he couldn't. He was just like, "What? Isn't that a big generalization?" He's like, "No, it's not a big generalization. If you came over here, you're benefiting from things like affirmative action, and Donald Trump just ended DEI, these DEI policies, and a lot of foundational black Americans as well as ADOS are saying, hey, good riddance. All of these other groups, like these white women, have benefited way more than we have from something that was fought for by us. And the reason is, instead of just giving reparations, instead of just giving what? Reparations, they tried to dilute. They tried to give us affirmative action instead, but they diluted it by giving it to everyone except us. It was really a devilish plan. And again, that's what you get for trusting America. And I made another video about Zelensky just the other day. Hey, Zelensky trusted America and he's getting the short end of the stick. America, black Americans in the 60s, we said, okay, we're going to make these deals. Look, we haven't gotten reparations yet, but we have to close this this income gap. So what we're going to do is we're going to have affirmative action. And they said, okay, all right, we're going to have affirmative action, huh? Yeah, well, how about we make it not just for black Americans? Why don't we make it for all minorities? All minorities. Yeah, so, you know, this white woman over here, my wife, she's a minority. Let's give my wife a job and call it affirmative action. Sound good? Because to be fair, black Americans have been so much. You guys do deserve affirmative action. You deserve a leg up, right? So how about, because you guys have been through so much, how about we hire my white wife as affirmative action? Does that sound fair? That sounds fair, right? She's a minority. She's a minority. She should get affirmative action because you guys have been through so much. That's essentially what they did. So good job on Yvette Carnell. You know, I'm not a member of the ADOS organization, but I do like the points that she was raising in this interview. Let's get back into it.
Photographer who was recording our interview was more black American than I.
So Jay, right here, this dude, he took one of those DNA tests.
He black.
Right? But the thing about it is, this is what's crazy is that by your definition, Jay is more black American than I am, right? Because
But see, here's the thing. He's not more black American because he didn't bear the cost, because he looks like Jay.
At the heart of this black agenda is the hope for reparations, the idea that America owes the descendants of slaves a certain dollar figure.
I gotta pause that there, though. I gotta pause that there because they tried to sneak that in. Oh, this white guy is more black American than I am. No, because that white guy is not black. Even though he might have 2% black genes in him, on his birth certificate, I'll guarantee he's not claiming to be an African American. So whether he has 2%, 5% of those black genes in him, he's not black. So already he does not qualify. Nice try, though.
For the trauma of their history, critics of the ADOS movement say it's pure discrimination, that the racism that black Americans experience from redlining to job discrimination happens to all, no matter how they got here.
We may have gotten dropped off at different points, but we still are the glue that comes with diaspora. And when we start...
No, you didn't get dropped off. You came here willingly. You chose to come here. You purchased plane tickets. You went and got your passport. You went and got a visa. We didn't get dropped off at different points. You chose to come here. You were not dropped off. You flew here. We came on the bottom of ships. Y'all came in first class flights. It's a totally different experience. You came with student visas. When we came, reading was illegal. It's a totally different situation.
Picking and choosing who has more blackness over the other, who has more entitlement over the other.
It's not about who has the most blackness. It's about who has a legitimate claim against the United States government.
Than the other. I think that's when we get into a really dangerous narrative and conversation on our community. And so we have to be mindful that we keep focus on that it is color that is the heart of racism.
Cynthia Erivo, who's also a Tony winner, argues that her birthplace shouldn't make a difference in what stories she tells on film or stage. She says her job as an actress is to transcend these issues, even if her ancestors have never had to bear the cost or the pain of slavery.
All right, that's enough of that foolishness. Listen, it's not about you being from Great Britain. It's about you don't have the cultural ties. We don't feel your energy. You're just not good. You don't have the same. It's not good. The product that you create is just not good. You in real life talk down to Black Americans, and then you try to take Black American roles playing Black American icons, and you do a poor job at it. That's what the issue here is. And I want to play before we close out. We're getting ready to close out. If you've made it this far, be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Before we close out, I want to play Idris Elba's thoughts, because he made a comment regarding in response to Samuel L. Jackson, because as you heard in the interview we were just watching, Samuel L. Jackson was questioning the British actor's portrayal in Get Out, and Idris Elba had something to say about that. Idris Elba disagreed with our brother Samuel L. Jackson, and he says something I'm not really buying. I want to play the clip, and I'm going to play the clip. We're going to close out after this. Let's break this. Let's break
You as
this
the
clip
king
down.
of this space.
Let's break this clip down. Check this out.
Who nobody knew you were even from the UK for many, many seasons of The Wire.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
In truth, I'm hugely disappointed.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I'm hugely disappointed that there are some people that feel that they need to voice that. I mean, you know, in a world where we are divided, how do you find the further division? How can you, think that deeply into someone that's being paid to be an actor, to pretend to be a character that doesn't actually exist, comes from someone's imagination? You're going to dog on them because they're not actually from the place they be. Most actors are not from where they are.
Right.
Their characters are playing.
Nobody from Game of Thrones was really from any of those places.
No, really? What about that real country, that planet, Kryptonite? Oh my God, what about the people on Kryptonite?
Right.
They must be losing their minds.
Yeah. But is there any truth to the fact that...
They're being a little facetious here, trying to laugh it off, but saying that, oh, it's a fictional character. But the point that he was trying to make doesn't just apply to fictional characters. Like Martin Luther King being played. That's not a fictional character. Harriet Tubman being played. That's not a fictional character. This is a phenomenon that we're seeing happen more and more often. And as this delineation movement takes effect, these conversations are getting more attention. Mind you, this is also in the context of an era where artificial intelligence is replacing a lot of jobs in Hollywood. Artificial intelligence is replacing jobs in the writing space, and they have the vocals are being stolen or being replicated by artificial intelligence. Now they're to the point where entire images can be replicated completely based off of AI. So things are getting spooky, and a lot of jobs are getting replaced. And the delineation movement is vital now more than ever as those jobs start to get more scarce.
Tonight. Oh my God, what about the people on Kryptonite? Right. They must be losing their minds.
Yeah. But is there any truth to the fact that actors from the UK or black actors from the UK get paid less than American actors? Because I think it was maybe Spike said that, or there was, I don't want to put it.
Samuel said that.
Was it Samuel? Yeah.
Samuel said that. No, I don't think there's any truth to that. You know what I mean? Because in this day and age, pay equality is very huge. So you're never going to be able to get away with saying, "Oh, you're English?
Right.
You're English black. I could pay you a bit less." It doesn't even make sense. You know what it is? It's xenophobia. Mm-hmm. It's xenophobia, and xenophobia has destroyed black communities for a long time. It's destroyed cultures. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the Cyprus xenophobia that will put caste systems into place. Mm-hmm. There are people online talking about
Black Americans have never put caste systems in place. Black Americans have been the most accepting group in U.S. history. We fought for civil rights and then gave away all of the fruits of those fights. We gave affirmative action to white women and gay men. We've embraced our black immigrants from Africa, the Caribbeans. We've embraced everybody. So for him to say, "Oh, it's just xenophobia," like xenophobia is a thing in Black America, no, it's delineation. When we start to look out for ourselves, oh, it's xenophobia. And at the beginning, how we got here, we're playing a video of Zoe Saldana saying, "Oh, I'm the first proud Dominican actress." It's no problem when other people delineate, but as soon as we delineate and say, "Hey, we want to delineate and look out for our group," all of a sudden it's xenophobia. We're not putting down anyone else's group. We're not saying you guys are bad at anything. You stink. You talk poorly. We're not dissing any other group. We're just saying we need to look out for our group. And what do we get for that? Oh, you're xenophobic.
English actors shouldn't be playing Americans. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It's embarrassing. They sound so unintelligent and shouldn't do that. It's like, come on, man. We're all black. And we're all fighting for the same role.
It's already an uphill battle.
So it's just one big black group. One just big black nigga, huh? We're all the same, huh? No, we're not all the same. If we start moving to UK in mass, then if we move to Nigeria in mass and start taking up all the roles in Nollywood, then let's revisit this conversation.
Battle.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. Put that down. That's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. It's just heartbreaking.
Do you ever reach out when something like that happens in the community for counsel or for guidance? Or
Well, to be fair, when Samuel made this statement in the paper and everything, I reached out to Samuel and I gave him my point of view, and I was like, for someone who is so revered by all actors, it's a disappointing thing to hear you say that. And he actually said to me, "You know what, Idris, I take that back, actually. I think you're right." He did.
Cap. I don't believe it. I'm calling BS. I don't believe it. I don't believe Samuel L. Jackson. I don't think y'all really understand how much of a writer Samuel L. Jackson is. Look it up. Samuel L. Jackson kidnapped Martin Luther King's dad. Look it up. At Morehouse College, Samuel L. Jackson, the actor, kidnapped Martin Luther King's dad and held him for ransom. They were not playing. He was in the civil rights for real. Samuel L. Jackson's a writer for real. And he's part of the foundational Black American lineage, which is why he spoke on this topic. I don't believe that he took it back. I'm calling cap. I'm calling cap.
Hands up to him for just admitting that it just felt a bit shallow to do that, especially when you're Samuel Jackson. You know, everyone looks up to you, and you've played a range of roles.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you have feelings about things and then say them publicly, and it becomes a whole other animal.
This is very true. Yeah.
But I respect him so much for having that conversation.
Yeah, I actually, he wasn't aggressive with me. He was very much like, "Hey, Idris, I'll take your point of view, and actually, I might reposition my thoughts on that."
Oh, so now you might what? So now he might reconsider. It went from, "Oh yeah, he heard my thoughts," and he was like, "Yeah, you're right." Now it's, "Oh well, I heard your thoughts and you might be right. Maybe I'll think about it." Cap. I do not believe it. I don't believe that Samuel L. Jackson changed his mind. If anything, I could see him being political about it. Say, oh, okay, you think so? All right, well, hey, I appreciate you calling me. I'll think about that. I can believe that. But for him to say, oh, yeah, I didn't think about the fact that that delineation is wrong. Well, since you mentioned it, I was completely wrong. I take it back. I'm not going to say anything publicly, but I'll just tell you that I take it back. What? I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Just me personally, I don't believe it.
Having that conversation.
Yeah, I actually, he wasn't aggressive with me. He was very much like, hey, Idris, I'll take your point of view, and actually, I might reposition my thoughts on that. Because he knows more than anything that the struggles of any actor is terrible. It's like most actors, 80% of actors do not work. So then to say, hey, you're not from America, so therefore you cannot audition over here, which is the land of movie making, is like, what?
Yeah.
You're joking.
So did you guys make nice and make friends after that?
Nah, that's my guy.
Okay.
I love Samuel Jackson. That's my guy. And even if he didn't reposition himself, he would still be my guy.
Yeah. He's still entitled to his opinion,
Exactly.
even if it's wrong.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's wrong.
Just would never. That's my guy.
Okay.
I love Samuel Jackson. That's my guy. And even if he didn't reposition himself, he would still be my guy.
Yeah.
So now, even if he did, I just do not believe that he repositioned. He changed his tune 3 times in the span of 60 seconds. He changed this so-called conversation he had with Samuel L. Jackson 3 times in the span of 60 seconds. I don't believe that Samuel L. Jackson changed his mind. I just don't believe it. I think Samuel L. Jackson, if anything, stood on it. He might have been a little political and been like, okay, I'll take your call into consideration. But I don't for 1 second believe that he changed his mind. There's nothing wrong with delineating and saying we're trying to prioritize our group. There's nothing wrong with doing that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Anyone who's in the MAGA crowd, Make America Great Again, Foundational Black Americans, we are trying to make Black America great again. Hate it or love it, it's time to prioritize ourselves. But hey, if you've made it this far in the video, hit the thumbs up button because I appreciate you guys. Hit the thumbs up button. It's free. It boosts us in the algorithm. If you got any value or enjoy watching tonight's video, just hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, smash the subscribe button. Guys, check out the links in the description. Right now, I'm saving to go back to law school. We need now more than ever Black attorneys. If you agree with me and think you see the need that could be filled by supporting Black attorneys, hit the link in the description. Support your boy as I try to help the Black community. All right, help me, help us. That being said, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.
Made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan. Now I'm the man, that ain't no stopping me. I ran up all these bands up and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan. Now I'm the man, that ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me.